What's up? What's up? What's up, all my one sexy wives? It is Tuesday, and you know what goes down here on Tuesday. Wife chat goes down here on Tuesday, and I am coming to you guys literally from my car. My niece had her very first track meet, and I'm super excited to have been able to go. Who would have thought that in the second half of my life, when next week I'm going to be having a one graduate, I'm going to have some elementary kids that are participating in their track meet, and this was her very first track meet. She did really well. She ran the 100 and she won, and then she did the 4x100 and they came in third as a team. So I'm really excited. For you guys that don't know, I have missed 2 wife chats because I had bronchitis and I'm still fighting it. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the love, for all the messages, for all the prayers. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, so much, so much. I appreciate you. Make sure that you're hitting the share button. Again, I'm sitting in my car at a track meet for my niece. You know, who would have thought, like I thought, me and Gail thought we were done, once we got Joshua out the door. And then God blessed us with 2 amazing little girls that are going to be going in the 5th and the 6th grade. So I'm at a track meet being a mom. And so I thank you guys so much, so much, so much. Again, if I'm sounding a little nasal, it's because I'm still on antibiotics from bronchitis. And I will just tell you this, I have never had bronchitis, and I don't wish this up on my worst nightmare. And I want to say to all you wives, take time for yourself, because I was running so much and I could have ended up in the hospital because I was just on the verge of having walking pneumonia. And if I wouldn't have listened to my husband, I would have been still in the hospital. I was being hard-headed. It just kept going, kept just thinking it was a cold. And let me just tell you, it is no joke. Literally, it is no joke. I have been on antibiotics, like I said, for the last 2 weeks, and that's the reason why I haven't done wife chat. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys for all your support. Make sure you're hitting the share button. Make sure you let all the one sexy wives know that I'm back. I'm not 100%, but I'm back. And today, this chat comes from an amazing wife that I had the pleasure of meeting on a plane, and she's from Vegas. And we were talking about addictions in marriage, right? And I told her that I would, and I met her about a month ago when I was on the plane. And I told her that I was going to address this topic because I did not realize how many people are dealing with a spouse that is addicted to something, right? And when we think about addictions, we always think about maybe drugs or porn, but there's so many addictions that are plaguing our marriages. And I can't touch on every last one of them, but I do want to address that. And so, you guys can see, I'm sitting in my car. I'm not in the comfort of my bed tonight. So thank you guys for joining me. And I just want to talk about addictions in marriage. And there's so many addictions that people can be addicted to. There's drugs, there's pornography, there's eating addictions, there's steroid addictions, there's shopping addictions, there are lying addictions, there it's so many addictions that you can be facing in your marriage, right? And so I just want to give you some tools and some strategies, right? It's not the be all, the end all, or whatever, but I just want to give you some things to really think about, some things to really excuse me, as you guys know, I'm going to press through this. Some things that you guys can think about and some tools and strategies, because again, I will tell you that most spouses that are dealing with an addiction, either they came into the marriage with the addiction and you was not aware of it, or they have been good at hiding the addiction, right? Or they have developed it after you got married, right? Well, I will tell you, for me, I came into my marriage with a shopping addiction, right? And Gail had no idea that I had a shopping addiction. And I didn't look at it as a shopping addiction. I looked at it as like really liking nice things and towards the first 3 years of our marriage, right, I had shopped us in over $60,000 worth of unsecured debt, right? Over $60,000 worth of credit card debt. You know, I would max my American Express out, and then I would open one in Gail's name. He had no idea. And I'm just talking about my personal addiction. Everybody has one. And you know, it could be eating. It could be a food addiction, right? It could be an addiction where you binge eat and then you throw up, right? It could be any of those addictions, right? And so whatever it is, sometimes we're able to hide it and some we're not. For me, I was able to hide my shopping addiction for years. And the reason why I was able to hide it is because I was making a lot of money, right? But when we moved to Puerto Rico, God shifted that thing. I was not able to work over there, right? And so it came to light, and it literally could have took my marriage under, right? But I was, like I said, I was so good at hiding it. So whatever you're dealing with in your marriage, you might be the one who has an addiction, or your spouse might have the addiction. But whatever it is, I'm going to give you some tools and strategies tonight that's going to help you. The first one is avoid denial, right? If it looks like a cat, meows like a cat, it's probably a cat, right? And not saying that Gail was in denial when I was having my shopping addiction, right? I was just really good at hiding it, and nothing was getting cut off, and nothing, people wasn't calling and trying to collect. So he had no clue because he was so busy, in school and doing all of his stuff. I was able to hide it, right? But when the crap hit the fan and we was in Puerto Rico, and I went from making $160,000 a year to zero, right? There was no way to avoid it, and I had to own up to it. So the first thing is get out of denial. And if your spouse is displaying any kind of addiction, it probably is so, right? So that's the first thing, is you have to acknowledge. And if you're having a hard time getting them to acknowledge it, uncover it, right? You have to uncover it, because no one is going to get help unless you help them uncover the addiction, right? The second thing is, whatever that addiction is, learn more about it, right? If it's a porn addiction, if it's a shopping addiction, if it's a steroid addiction, whatever it is, learn more about it. Now with the internet, there is no excuse for us not to be educated in certain areas. There's just no excuse. You can pretty much Google anything. And the thing is, when I had to come and quit denying and said I had a shopping addiction, Gail went to work. He went to work to figure out what was it missing in my life, or what was it triggering to make me think that I needed to have all of these material things. I did not grow up in a household where I was denied things. So what void was I trying to fill, right? And anybody who gets addicted to something, whether it's drugs, whether it's hoarding, whatever that addiction is, that is just the surface. There's a root cause for everything, right? There is a root cause for everything. My root cause for my shopping addiction was abandonment, right? Abandonment from my biological father. And so that just perpetuated a bad attitude, big mouth, short temper. All of those things was tied to that. So the shopping was the surface. The root cause was so many other different things, okay? And hello, everybody. Thank you so much for sharing this. Thank you so much for loving on me, guys, because I've really been sick for the last 2 weeks, like literally. And I thank God for my team who has stepped in, because literally, I should be in the hospital, and I was so hard-headed. And I'll tell you how hard-headed I was after I finished this one. The third thing is, don't be an enabler, right? Sometimes we enable people to continue in their addictions. And I know you're like, Gail, how do I not enable them, right? The thing is that once you get yourself educated and you realize that there's a problem, You don't have to participate in it. You do not have to participate in it. And I will tell you, when I was deep in my shopping addiction, once Gail learned that I had this addiction, he took over the finances. He told me, you went to cosmetology school when you was in college. You better get to doing your hair, your nails, your toes, and all that, because all that money that you're spending is now going to go back into paying off all of these debts, right? And so he had to literally take over the finances, because obviously I was not able to do that in my addiction, right? The next thing that you need to do is connect with a support group, right? Connect with a support group. It is nothing wrong with reaching out for help. We perish for the lack of knowledge, right? There are support groups for every single thing that you are facing with somebody with addiction. Shopaholics Anonymous. You got a whole network for people who are dealing with people with pornography. You have a whole network of people who are dealing with Christian people who are addicted to pornography. There's people, support groups for people who are on steroids and are losing their mind and having rage. There is for eating disorders, all kind of eating disorders. Whatever that addiction is, get yourself some support. You can't do it by yourself. You're not equipped to handle it by yourself. And you're like, I don't want people in my business. Well, the thing is your marriage is at hand. So yes, we can pray about it. And that's one of the steps. But the other thing is go get yourself some professional help. Go get yourself some support. Because when you're dealing with someone with an addictive personality, right? And somebody who is not listening and not open, right? And not being honest to you, you're going to have to be able to uncover those things, right? You're going to have some tools and some strategies that's going to help you sustain as you help this person through that, right? And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, if your spouse is addicted to drugs and they're cleaning your bank account out and they're selling all your furniture and all those kind of things, that you have to subject to yourself to that and walk around, and live in a house that has nothing left in it. Right? But there is support groups out there that tells you how to deal with that, how to love them, how to do all of those things, right? And not put yourself in danger, because nobody wants to be put in danger. And especially when you're dealing with someone who's not irrationally thinking and they have chemical imbalances or whatever that is. The next thing is you have to set some boundaries. You have to set some boundaries for yourself. For Gail, it is you don't have control over the finances, and until you have proven that you can get yourself under control, and that you are not, you are worthy of handling our finances, you're not. And that was a choice. He drew a line in the sand. And to this day, he's taken over the finances for the last 15 years of our marriage. Right? Do I make money? Absolutely. But when I go shopping with cash. Once the cash is gone, I'm gone. Because I have no discipline and I don't want to go back to that space. I don't want to put my family back into that space. Okay. And granted, this was years ago, but when you have an addictive personality and when you have a big, bold personality like I do, it's easy to fall back into it, right? Especially when you have more income at your disposal with a shopping addiction. Okay. And the last thing I want to tell you is to make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure that you take care of yourself, because self-care is the most important thing you can do when you're dealing with someone that has an addiction. That is the most thing you can do, right? You have to sometimes love that person from afar. You can't fix them. You can support them. You can love them. You can get them some tools and strategies. You can get them some help. You can get them whatever they need. You can be the catalyst to get them to but they have to be the one to say, yes, I have this problem, and yes, I want help. So many people think that they can fix someone else. That's not your job. That's not your job. And the last thing I want to leave you with is learn to pray. Prayer can change anything. It really can. But again, when you're dealing with an adult with an addiction, the only thing you can do is be a support system for them, but don't kill yourself in the process. Don't allow yourself to be abused in the process. Don't allow yourself to get sick in the process trying to heal someone else, right? And again, some people are not going to agree with that, but my thoughts is if you don't take care of yourself, who's going to be there to take care of you? Who? So again, I thank you guys so much for tuning in. Truth no longer. Money feeling. I know that's right. Hello, Ebony. How do you deal with your spouse if they are in denial? Okay, how do you deal with your spouse if they're in denial? The thing is that, again, you have to be educated on what you think that is. And you have to bring it to the forefront. And you know, and that's the reason why I say you have to get educated, because there's so many ways to uncover someone's addiction, especially if they're trying to hide it, especially if they're trying to say that it's not them, right? It's not going on, right? That's the reason why I say get knowledgeable on whatever it is. Seek and get you some support, and they will be able to tell you how to get that person to come to into out of denial, right? And I like to watch that show. I don't know if y'all have ever seen it. It's called Intervention, and it deals with people who have drug addictions, and they go and they get this interventionist, and they sit down and they talk to the family first, and then they tell them how this process is going to work. And most of the time, the person who's addicted, eventually they will say, okay, I have this problem, and yes, I'm going to go get help, all right? Because they can't make them do anything, right? And whatever that addiction is, you can't make the person do anything. But what you can do is get them to acknowledge that that they have an addiction, that you love them, you are knowledgeable about it. These are the avenues that you can take to get help, and I'm here to support you. But in all of that, you have to not enable them to stay where they are. You have to draw a line in the sand, and you have to take care of yourself. I hope that's helpful, right? You've been missed. Welcome back. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Again, guys, I have never had bronchitis. I didn't even know really what it was. But I'm just telling you guys, thank you so much for your prayers, because literally I have been on steroids. I have been on antibiotics. I have been doing nebulizers 2 and 3 times a day. I'm just like, what in the world is going on? And I was being hard-headed because my husband was like, Gail, you need to go back to the doctor because that antibiotic is not working. And I'm like, I'm fine. And finally, my husband got really tough with me, because if you guys don't know me, I'm very hard-headed. And he's like, you need to go see a different doctor. And let me just tell you, when I walked in to the urgent care, because I went to the urgent care, literally, the doctor walked in, he looked at he said, you have double ear infections. He said, your left nostril is almost swollen shut. And he said, you have fluid all the way in your left lung. And he's like, you are on the verge of having walking pneumonia. And if I wouldn't have listened, right, just listen, I could have been still in the hospital. So, you guys, don't be hard-headed about your health. If you're not feeling something that's right, don't keep pressing through. Stop and take care of yourself, because it's most important. And so, again, I thank you guys so much for hopping on here. Thank you guys so much for supporting Wife Chat. I have an amazing, amazing thing I'm about to launch. It's called Wife Life You, and it's going to be a resource center for wives with so many different topics, so many different classes that you can take online. And I'm just so excited about this. So you guys keep looking out for that. You'll start seeing the advertisement for it, and it's going to be like stuff that you like on communication, infidelity. I mean, all kind of different things that God has been just telling me to do and to teach, and He's been telling me to do it for years. But in my getting well, I got mentally well too, and I'm going to obey. And so I'm opening up Wife Life Youth, so I'm super excited about that. And so again, thank you guys so much for hopping here on Wife Chat tonight. Thank you for praying for me. Thank you that God's healing power is resting on me, because I got a lot of work to do for you guys, and I appreciate you so much. Thank you to my amazing team that stepped in and have been keeping the emails going and keeping me going. And again, if you need me, you guys know how to get in contact with me. I offer a free 30-minute call. I mean, we go in, I help you out with whatever it is. If you go to gailcrowder.com, again, I love you guys to pieces. My niece just finished running and she did really well. And so you guys pray for me. I got one that's graduating from high school. You know, I got one that's in the military, and now I got these two girls. Lord have mercy. I didn't know how it is to deal with girls. Y'all better just keep praying for me, because girls are different. You know, my mother's up in heaven, but I apologize to her for my behavior, because girls are something else. So if y'all got some tips on how to deal with little teenage girls, 11 and 9, please send them my way, because Lord have mercy. Jesus. But anyway, I love you guys to pieces. Have an amazing night. Bye-bye.